This is the BN-Link plug-in variable fan speed controller. Let's take it out of the box. In the box you get the user manual, and here is the fan speed controller itself. Let me tell you a little bit about it. I'll show you around it, and then I will show you several different applications of it. This will handle up to 4.8 amps. That is 600 watts. Do not exceed 4.8 amps or 600 watts. This is meant for brushed motors. What's a brushed motor? How do you know if you have one? Well, I can't answer the second question. You have to know a bit about them. What I can tell you is the type of motor that is in a vacuum cleaner is called a universal motor, and that certainly is a brushed motor. There are brushes that go against a commutator there, and that's what this is meant for. I'm going to be testing it with other stuff as well. It'll do a fine job with it. You want to be careful in using this because it is not directly resisting the voltage. It's switching it on and off quickly. That may cause a little bit of hum in the particular motor or something else like that, so you want to test it. Don't immediately crank it to low. That's not good for A, starting the motor, and B, it's also not great to leave it running like that. They recommend don't put it past about 50%. You can go lower. You want to watch it. Here's the unit itself. You have a simple knob. Okay, just like that. And then it clicks off, which I need to turn by hand like that. Plugs in. Okay, standard plug. Little hole there. You can take the screw out of the cover plate on a standard US outlet and put it through that to help hold it in the outlet. And then on the bottom is the outlet where you plug the device in. So let's get started. To assist me in testing this, I'm going to be using this BN-Link 15-foot outdoor extension cord with 12-gauge wire. If you're interested in that, I have a video on it, and I will leave a link in the video description. We're going to start simple, and again, I know it's a fan speed controller, but this will help to visually represent what is going to happen with the fan when we get to that, and then we're going to test a couple other things also out and see how that does. So I just have this little light bulb in here. This is like 7 watts or something like that. Like I said, you just turn the dial. Great part is it starts on high, so you're not going to damage anything. And if I do that, that is pretty much the same brightness that it is if you just plug it into a regular outlet without this. As I turn it, you will notice it's going to dim down. And it gets considerably dimmer. Now, one thing I do know, you see how much I could turn that, and it really doesn't vary that much. So most of the attenuation of the speed or anything is going to happen right after you click it on. So it's going to go from highest speed that it normally goes down pretty quick. As you see, it got considerably dimmer, and then you get less and less as you go. There's not that much brightness between that, but certainly a lot brighter there, as you see. Okay, so that's your visual representation of what we're going to see. Now, let's go ahead and test a fan. Here is a vintage, probably 1950s Vornado fan. These things don't talk to each other too nicely. It is not the right type of motor. It will still achieve the effect, but it's going to work a bit differently. You're going to see right here and now. This has just been repainted. It runs great. It is still on its original motor and stuff like that. We're going to go ahead. I'm just going to tip this down to help prevent the air from hitting the camera. Hopefully it'll work. So we'll tip it like way down over here, but you'll certainly hear the difference in the speed if you can't quite see the blades. We'll kick it on. It's going to go right to high speed. Takes a little while to get up to speed, but that's how they were. And now we can lower that. So I'm going to turn this slow. You can already hear it. See, I didn't turn that much. Look, only that little bit. And already it has cut the speed way down. But there. It's running much slower and quieter, of course. We'll send it down a little further. And now the airflow is a lot weaker, so I can turn it up so you can see a little better. This puts out a tremendous amount of air, so even at this low speed it's still going. Now we can go lower. Again, they don't recommend going down past really 50%, but I'll show it to you for the video. And again, we get less attenuation as we go down. I'll go all the way to the end. That's not spinning much. There is just the gentlest little breeze coming out. But like I said, this is not the right type of motor to be running on this. I'll speed it up a bit. Now it's running quite a bit faster than before and moving quite a lot more air, and we'll crank it back to high. It certainly gets whipping, but you can plug any kind of fan you want. Let's try another one. It has a different kind of motor. This is called a Hasek fan. This is a Rex Cole brand air circulator Hasek fan, also from the late 1950s. I know it looks old, but it's actually not. A friend of mine redid this for me. The motor that was in here was shot after all those years. So that motor is brand new as of, oh, maybe a year ago. Okay, so it's brand new manufacturer motor. I don't know what type it is, but we're going to test it out, and you will see this will exhibit different behavior, yet still. We'll kick it on high. Turn the switch on and on first, of course. This is probably going to blow air at the camera. There's not really a great way around that unless maybe I lower the camera. Let's try that. Yeah, you should be able to see it fine from here. So this is going to operate more how it's supposed to. Okay, we'll turn it on. Again, it starts on high, so this is going to run like it does normally when just plugged in, and you flip that big switch on there on, just like that. This thing is great, I gotta tell you. It's pretty quiet, moves a ton of air, 360 degrees. It's really nice, but we can now control the speed because otherwise it's just on or off. And sometimes on is too much on because, like I said, it's pretty powerful. Turn it down. So I can turn it a lot farther now, and it has slowed down. Let me speed it back up. See the difference? So about there, and we'll keep going. Much quieter, but yet it is still running. That's all the way at the lowest there, where again, you really want to keep it more in the 50% range. But hopefully you can see the blades whirling around in there a lot slower than it was before. And believe you me, this is still putting a nice little breeze out. If you just need a little something, this can be a great thing. We'll turn it back up some. You can hear it sped up. And that's full speed once again. Alright, let's go to something non-conventional. Don't do this. But again, it's just for demonstration purposes. This is a 1-gallon small pancake air compressor. I use this to run a little brad nailer when I have just a few to shoot around like that, to tack things up. and stuff like that. This thing is extremely loud, it's slow, it's noisy, but it works, and it always was that way. So it is what it is. You are probably not going to be able to hear me through this, so I'm going to adjust the volume down on this clip, but I want you to hear the difference in the sound as we make it slower and slower. Now, there is no practical application in this particular case unless you're looking to reduce the noise, but even still, this thing is way too noisy. Anyway, here we go. Like I said, I'm going to lower the volume. We're going to start at the regular highest, so it'll run, you'll see it, and then I'll slow it down, and then I'm going to run it till it's almost full, when it's in a lot more labor, and you'll see the difference there. Here we go. The tank is now most of the way filled up. I'm going to turn it on at the high speed, and then I'm going to crank it down to the lowest, and we're going to wait and see if this can finally trip the I have enough pressure turn off switch in there. Indeed it did. This, I know, has a brushed motor in it because you can hear how loud it is. There's a lot of things making a lot of noise in this thing, but it definitely is a universal motor, I know. And this device here from BN-Link is not even warm. It's running happy as a clam, doing exactly what it's supposed to. Everything I've shown you so far, of course, is less than 600 watts. Like I said, there really is no practical application for running a device like this at a lower speed because it's just going to take so much longer. But again, we're just here to demonstrate and give you the idea. One more thing that we can test that also does have a universal motor. This is it, the stress test. This is one of those little handheld vacuum cleaners. The cord is still wrapped up on it. This is exactly 600 watts. The maximum that this will handle. Once again, there's no real practical application to run your vacuum slower because the suction won't be as great, but it will be a bit quieter. So let's go ahead with that. We'll turn it on again on high, just as it would normally run plugged in. It's not too loud, this thing, but so there you go. That's on the lowest. It still has suction, but not like it does on high. So this will work with actually a number of different devices, provided they have a universal motor and you find an application to run it slower. It's marketed as a fan speed controller, and it certainly does work for that. But you can do other things, maybe an angle grinder if you wanted to run that at a slower speed, or drill, an electric drill that plugs in would have a universal motor, amongst many others. as well. Electric pressure washers, many of them today are using a universal motor. Not really the best choice, but it's cheap, which is why they do it. I don't think you'd want to kind of slow that down either, because you want the most pressure you can get, and the electric ones aren't that powerful, considering there's gas ones out there. But still, you can find your own application for this. It's a very simple and inexpensive device, but hey, if you have a table fan that the switches are broken on, you can slow it down right there. This is also great for exhaust fans in greenhouses, especially when the weather isn't that warm, but hey, it's still getting a bit, you don't want it too cold in there, you don't want it too hot in there, so you can dial the speed down and have it just run at a nice constant slower speed, then all the way on high, and then you got to come out and check, and is it getting too cold, is it getting too hot, all that kind of stuff. So you can do that right like that. So a real simple thing like that, very convenient to have around. You never do know where you can use this until you think of said application. But again, a very handy device. Once again, this is the BN-Link plug-in fan speed controller, meant for universal motors and not to exceed 600 watts or 4.8 amps. But once again, a pretty nifty device all around from BN-Link. If you'd like to purchase this item, I'll leave a link in the video description where you can find the item available for sale on Amazon. Thanks for watching. Make sure you click like, make sure you click subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.